During the night, a couple of friends go up to the roof of a building to parachute and, on landing, Jack is surprised by the attack of a pterosaur, which mistakes him for prey. Meanwhile, Evan arrives home and tries to deal with the traumatic memory of the day he lost his wife, Brooke, having been devoured by an Albertosaurus. The next morning, Dylan and a team of police officers show up at the scene of the attack to investigate what kind of animal caused those wounds on Jack's body, since the man is no longer alive to give evidence. When she realizes that the young man was wearing a parachute, Dylan suggests that he was attacked in the air, but her superiors decide to ignore it, as they consider that there is no flying animal big enough to cause all that damage. While the authorities are trying to investigate this case, other residents are being attacked by the prehistoric animal, which is still roaming free in the city. Determined to prove her theory, Dylan goes around the city looking for the creature that supposedly attacked Jack and finds Evan in a park. While introducing themselves, the pair hear a roar coming from behind the trees and quickly move away. Immediately, Dylan reaches for her cell phone to call for backup, but a magnetic surge causes the device to stop working. Evan then goes out to look for the magnetic field and, with the help of a detector, he discovers the source of the signal. While the man is photographing the portal, Dylan sees a Utahraptor approaching and they both have to cross the portal to avoid being attacked by it. In doing so, the pair are transported millions of years into the past and end up being followed by the predator. When he realizes that the policewoman is terrified, Evan pulls her back to the other side of the portal and, as soon as they return to the modern era, the magnetic field disappears. Excited by his new discovery, Evan returns home to take a look at the photos he has taken. As soon as the couple leave, another Utahraptor appears and they discover that the portal that would take them home has disappeared. Hours later, Evan meets up with his team to try and unravel the origin of the anomaly and receives a call from Drake, who reveals that he is following a new lead and informs him of its location. While preparing his weapon to defend himself in case new dinosaurs appear, the man hears some screams coming from inside the building and decides to go in alone to investigate. After walking around for a few minutes, he finds the body of a homeless man who was sheltering inside and calls Evan to report that there is a monster on the loose. At that moment, Drake walks slowly towards the exit, but ends up being caught by surprise and his friends hear him shouting into the phone. Minutes later, the group arrives at the scene and, as soon as the police have collected Drake's body, Dylan makes an analysis of the injuries to report to the IML. After diagnosing why the man lost his life, the woman realizes that the marks left on the policeman's body don't match the attack Jack suffered, which means that there are at least 2 dinosaurs of different species loose in the city. At this point, Dylan is informed of a call made by a child who is alone in the forest and Evan decides to go there to help her rescue the boy. Using a telephone, they manage to communicate with Trevor and discover that the boy is about to be attacked by the same pterodactyl that eliminated the paratrooper. When they finally manage to find Trevor, the pair throw tranquilizer darts at the animal and Evan tries to distract him while the substance takes effect in his body. As soon as the beast is contained, the man runs to rescue Trevor and is almost attacked by the Utahraptor, which suddenly appears and tries to swallow him. However, just as Evan and the boy were about to be cornered, something unexpected happened and the 2 dinosaurs started fighting each other, destroying each other. With the help of Mac and Toby, Evan takes the bodies of those creatures back to the lab so that they can be used in future research and also to ensure that the authorities don't find them. In this way, scientists keep the existence of a portal leading to the world of dinosaurs a secret and prevent this information from falling into the wrong hands, at least for the time being. A few weeks later, a group of small raptors break into a large department store and attack the security guard. In the early hours of the morning, Evan is notified of what has happened and heads to the site in the company of Dylan and Mac to try and capture the animals. Due to his traumatic history with dinosaurs, Mac is willing to shoot them, but Evan forbids him to do so and orders the raptors to be taken alive. To ensure the success of this mission, Evan gives his companions a stun gun capable of bringing down any creature weighing up to 3 tons. In an attempt to eliminate any traces of this operation, Evan knocks out the signal from all the store's security cameras and the trio follow the bloodstains to find out if the victim is still alive. Using the detection device, Evan realizes that the anomaly is nearby and soon comes across a new portal open in the middle of the establishment. On approaching, the trio discover that half of the security guard's body has been dragged to the other side of the portal and try to pull him back, but much of his body has already been devoured. While Evan and Dylan scan the site for the specimens that caused the damage, Mac takes out his gun to make sure that no other animal gets through that portal. During the search, the pair are surprised by the sudden appearance of a raptor, who has been hiding among the shelves all this time. Immediately, Evan tries to fire a shot at the creature, but it manages to sneak up and run away again. Dylan then has the idea of using some bait to lure the raptor into a transport box and finally manages to capture him. On seeing the little dinosaur, the woman realizes that it belongs to a species that hunts in packs, so she contacts Mac to find out if it is in danger. After checking that their friend is all right, Dylan and Evan set a new trap, but this time the creature doesn't get into the box and helps his companion escape from prison. Immediately, the couple goes out to look for them, but the creatures drop a box on Evan and steal the humans' weapons. So the pair decide to follow a new plan and focus their energy on capturing the group's alpha, because if he is sent back to the other side of the portal, his companions will follow. Meanwhile, Mac is chasing a dinosaur and tries to hit it with his tranquilizer darts, but the animal hides in the warehouse and the young man goes after it with the aim of eliminating it. At this point, Evan and Dylan realize that they are surrounded and decide to split up to confuse the predators. Terrified, the woman hides inside a large metal box, but the raptors join forces to destroy it. When Dylan is about to be attacked, Evan appears with a vacuum cleaner and uses the noise of the device to drive the dinosaurs away. Concerned for Mac's safety, the two friends decide to go after him and are relieved to discover that the young man has captured one of those monsters. After donning protective suits, the trio begins a hunt for the alpha and, after capturing him, they help the animal make the crossing. Minutes later, all the other gang members go after their leader and Evan contacts Leeds to ask him to send men to guard the site until the portal closes. The problem is that every time one anomaly closes, another opens up somewhere else and, thanks to this, new victims accumulate as the days go by. When a new anomaly alarm goes off and Toby discovers the location, she realizes that a portal has been opened next to the cabin of an old college friend. Immediately, the woman summons Mac to accompany her there and then calls for reinforcements for Evan, who gets in the car with Ange and Dylan to go to the site. Arriving at the cabin in the middle of the forest, Toby talks to one of the members of the band she used to play in when she was at college and says that the girls are in danger. At this point, Nat reveals that Bobby disappeared in the forest a few minutes ago, so Toby begins to suspect that the man has been attacked. She quickly orders the girls into the car, but Nat decides to stay and help Toby and Mac look for the missing photographer. As soon as their friends leave, the trio come across a dinosaur and all get into the van to try and escape. Seeing his friend speeding away, Toby decides to put her out with the help of a taser and they end up in an accident. Sometime later, Evan and the rest of the team arrive at the cabin and contact Mac to find out where they are. At this point, the man discovers that there is a dinosaur on the loose and sets out to find it. During the search, Ange finds Bobby's body completely destroyed. As the trio trek through the woods in search of the predator, Ange begins to be chased and runs through the trees while her friends try to extinguish the dinosaur. Just as the woman was about to be reached, Evan manages to move her out of the way so that Dylan has a chance to hit her target. After putting the animal out with a tranquilizer, she decides to tie it up to make it easier to transport, as the aim now is to find the anomaly in order to send the dinosaur back home. Meanwhile, Mac's team continues to search for the portal and comes across a grizzly bear in the middle of the forest. Instead of shooting the animal, Toby orders his friends to raise their arms and start shouting. In this way, they manage to drive the predator away and continue the search. Minutes later, the trio find the anomaly at the end of a bridge and Mac informs Evan of its location. At this point, he asks his partner to help him transport the dinosaur and Mac immediately goes to meet him. Suddenly, another predator appears and Evan shoots it. Frightened, the creature decides to flee and runs towards the bridge. As soon as the animal crosses the portal, Mac calls Leeds and asks for help to take the unconscious dinosaur back home. A few days later, while driving through the city, Evan hears the screams of a group of people and discovers that there is another predator on the loose. The dino of the day is a Pachycephalosaurus, which, despite being a herbivorous animal, displays aggressive behavior when it feels threatened. Every time it sees its reflection in the glass, the creature thinks it is facing an adversary and attacks. As soon as he notices this behavior, Dylan comes to the conclusion that the dinosaur has no interest in hurting humans and is happy when he manages to immobilize it, as it will no longer pose any danger to himself or others. When Leeds shows up, Mac decides to stay to help him take the Pachycephalosaurus to the anomaly and Evan returns to Cross Photonics, the company he helped found. Hours later, a group of skateboarders posted a video online in which they recorded a triceratops walking through the park. Seeing the images, Evan and Dylan go to the scene to look for the animal and discover that it has invaded a condominium of luxury homes. As she watches the dinosaur drinking water in the pool of a mansion, the woman is amazed, as she has never had the chance to see a scene like this before. However, when it sees humans, the creature feels threatened and immediately goes on the attack. After destroying the sauna and throwing Evan into the pool, the Triceratops escapes and Dylan goes after it and manages to lure it into a tennis court. At this point, she tries to reassure the dinosaur and then goes out to get water and food for it. Meanwhile, Evan is trying to fix the anomaly detector, because ever since he fell into the pool, the device has stopped working. When she returns to the court with the food in hand, Dylan comes across Leeds and his team of soldiers, who have just arrived on the scene to capture the Triceratops. Furious, the woman orders them to move away, as they are scaring the animal, and says that the situation is under control. After fixing the detector, Evan finds the anomaly and reports its location so that his partner can lure the Triceratops there. As soon as the animal crosses the portal, Howard, who helped Evan fix the detector, steals the device and flees to the world of dinosaurs. After the mission, Leeds contacts his superior and reveals that, due to unforeseen circumstances, the Triceratops could not be captured. Instead of helping the dinosaurs that were rescued by Evan and his team to return to their world, all this time the lieutenant has been taking these animals to a secret government laboratory, where they are treated as guinea pigs in various experiments. After collecting a tissue sample from one of these animals that are being used as study material, a scientist sees the creature kicking down the door of its cage and fleeing aimlessly into the city. That afternoon, Dylan receives a call from Detective Harlow and discovers that a large, angry dinosaur has been spotted in a parking lot. However, after checking the activities identified by the detector, Evan discovers that no anomalies have been identified in recent days and wonders where that dinosaur could have come from. Arriving at the parking lot and seeing a vehicle completely destroyed, Dylan decides to go and talk to the owner and discovers that he has been attacked by some kind of giant bird. At this point, the pair are preparing to start a new hunt and Evan is still annoyed that his detector hasn't identified any signs of an anomaly. Hearing some screams coming from outside the building, the couple get clues to the creature's location and discover that their target is a scavenger dinosaur, which feeds on organisms that are no longer alive. While the animal is looking for food in the garbage cans, Dylan whistles to get its attention and, when it sees the creature, it realizes that the animal is the same one they have rescued before. At this point, Evan discovers why his device hadn't detected any anomalies, because the bird arrived in the city a few weeks ago. When the man approaches, the creature runs away and Dylan realizes that it is wearing an anklet, which indicates that the animal was being held captive in some laboratory. Suddenly, some US Army soldiers working for Leeds show up and Evan realizes that the men who should be helping to send the dinosaurs back home are the ones responsible for keeping them in captivity. Afraid of being taken back to the laboratory, the bird decides to jump over the wall to escape and the soldiers go after it. Meanwhile, Evan and Dylan go to Leeds' office to confront him, but the lieutenant claims that he was coerced into handing over some rescued animals to a government research laboratory. However, the man has not been informed of the Bird of Terror's escape and is willing to help Evan find it using the tracker implanted in his anklet. However, when he turns on the computer and enters his password to access the device, Leeds discovers that his access has been denied, so Evan uses his knowledge to hack into the system. After discovering the location of the bird, Dylan and Evan drive to an ice skating rink and hide in the women's restroom to avoid being expelled by the military. Once all the civilians have been escorted out of the building, Douglas tries to contact one of his team members, but gets no reply. At this point, the major begins to suspect that Turner has been attacked and, by now, has even been eliminated. Suddenly, Douglas receives a call from Leeds, who is furious at not having been warned about the animal's escape, let alone the rescue operation organized by the military. When he realizes that his superiors have purposely decided to hide this information, Leeds realizes that his days as director of the Magnet Project are numbered. As he searches for the bird, Evan begins to wonder how to send it back home, as he knows that it is extremely unlikely that a new anomaly will open up in the same era as the creature it came from. So Dylan asks about the possibility of opening a portal artificially, but Evan says he doesn't have the technology to do it. While Douglas and his men follow a false signal implanted to confuse them, Evan and Dylan go out looking for the tracker and discover that the bird has managed to remove its anklet. At this point, the pair hear some cries for help and follow a trail of bodies to find the creature, which was shot at during the escape. Seeing the wounded animal walking under the ice rink, Dylan fires a few tranquilizer darts to try and knock it down, but it remains standing. When the creature moves away, the couple decide to follow it and use food as bait to lure the bird out of its hiding place. While the animal is feeding, Evan pulls the trigger and hits the second tranquilizer dart. This time, the pair manage to take down their target and try to think of a way to get him out of that building without going through the military. At this point, Douglas appears and threatens to shoot the civilians, but ends up being knocked down by a tranquilizer fired by Leeds. Seeing the pistol on the ground, Dylan stoops down to pick it up and shoots the animal in the head, knowing that it would hardly survive those wounds. The woman believes that this is the only way to spare the bird and prevent it from being used as a guinea pig again, so she decides to eliminate it. Frightened, Leeds picks up the gun and wipes Dylan's fingerprints. He then hands Evan the keys to his car and orders them to flee. Minutes later, other soldiers show up and Leeds takes full responsibility for what happened, giving himself up as a prisoner. The next morning, Evan and Mac are taken as prisoners to the military base, where they end up being interrogated by Henderson. However, Evan manages to convince the colonel to release his friend and, when he arrives at the parking lot, Mac finds Dylan. According to her, Toby wiped the entire anomaly detection system so that the government couldn't gain access and is now preparing a safe place for the team to hide. However, before finding her, the pair take a break to break into the laboratory where the dinosaurs are being held captive and hitch a ride on a truck to get through the gates. Dylan then uses the access card she received from Leeds to open the door and steals 2 lab coats so that she and Mac can pass themselves off as scientists. In this way, the pair manage to break into the operating room and find the Pachycephalosaurus, which they saved weeks ago, lifeless on a stretcher. Next to it lies the body of another dinosaur that was also rescued with Dylan's help and, on discovering the sad end that those creatures suffered, the woman feels guilty. After taking a few photos of the horror they're doing in the lab, Dylan and Mac leave the room and discover that their presence has already been detected. When a group of security guards enter the building, the pair try to escape and hide in the machine room. Through a secret passage, they manage to reach one of the analysis laboratories, but end up being arrested while investigating the place. At this point, they are taken to Henderson's office and the colonel says he has enough reasons to keep them locked up for many years. To prevent this from happening, Evan decides to accept the invitation to work on the magnet project, even though his friends would rather go to jail than help the government gain access to the time vortices. As soon as Evan returns to Cross Photonics, Toby shows up to inform him about the opening of a new anomaly on a beach a few kilometers away. When they get there, the team comes across some marks in the sand and follows the footprints until they finally find the anomaly. While Evan and Toby stand guard to make sure no monsters come out of that portal, their friends go off in search of the creature that left those marks in the sand. During the hunt, Dylan almost gets stung by a giant scorpion, but Mac manages to act in time and shoots the creature. Hearing the sound of gunfire, the creature runs away and tries to hide among the wooden beams, but Mac manages to knock it down and Evan starts shooting at the arachnid. When it realizes that the monster is ready to attack, the group unites to use tiles as a shield and push it back to the other side of the portal. As soon as the situation calms down, Toby realizes that she has been hit by the sting, as she has a wound on her leg. In an attempt to stop the poison from spreading through his friend's body, Evan contacts Ange and asks for her help in getting a doctor who specializes in toxicology to treat Toby. Immediately, Ange sends a helicopter to the scene and Mara begins treatment, but reveals that she will need a sample of the poison to produce an antidote. Without thinking twice, Evan and Dylan prepare to cross the anomaly and Leeds decides to accompany them. Ever since Ange managed to get him out of prison, the lieutenant has been looking for ways to redeem himself for the bad choices he made. As soon as they arrive on the other side of the portal, the trio realize that there are several anomalies scattered throughout the forest, so Leeds decides to go back for reinforcements. During the search, Dylan ends up getting caught in a trap and, seeing the scorpion approaching, she tries to reach her weapon. Just then, Evan appears and hands his gun to his partner, who fires a shot into the creature's mouth. When the monster escapes, the man helps Dylan up and the pair break into its lair, where they find the body of one of the scorpion's victims. Minutes later, the pair find the animal and Dylan distracts it while Evan cuts off its sting with a knife. After the attack, the creature flees and the two friends run out of the cave, but suddenly the earth begins to shake and they are separated. While Evan tries to get rid of the wall of rocks that has formed in his path, Dylan struggles to get up, having injured her leg during the accident. When he realizes that he won't be able to clear the passage on his own, Evan orders his friend to take the stinger so that Mara can prepare the antidote that will save Toby. Dylan then has to return to the cave with a group of soldiers to rescue Evan. Meanwhile, in England, Connor and his team are chasing an Albertosaurus through the city of London and, when his friend is captured by the creature, he decides to cross the anomaly to save him. After delivering the poison to one of his team members, Dylan returns to rescue Evan and meets Connor, who is looking for Kieran. When they realize that they both have a common interest, they decide to team up to help each other find their partners. Just as he was about to be attacked by the scorpion, Evan is rescued and discovers that Connor is after the same Albertosaurus that eliminated his wife 6 years ago. After taking the antidote, Toby recovers quickly and helps Ange locate Evan and Dylan so that she can send a rescue team after them. While helping to look for Kieran, Evan realizes that he has the chance to change his past and save Brooke, because he has ended up in the exact place where she was attacked. In less than an hour and a half, the attack will take place, so he considers staying there to save his wife. However, Evan knows that changing the past can have disastrous consequences, so as soon as Kieran is rescued, the team leaves. At that moment, they are followed by the ALL DINOSAURS, which is eliminated by Colonel Henderson and his men as soon as it crosses the portal. The man then takes Connor and Kieran prisoner and orders the soldiers to capture the ALL DINOSAURS. When she discovers that Connor and Kieran really did come from another time, Ainge decides to help them return home. Meanwhile, Evan enlists the help of his friends to take ALL DINOSAURS back to the anomaly, as he knows he has an important mission to fulfill. Despite wanting to save his wife's life, Evan knows that this will change the whole future, so he decides not to risk it and to keep things as they are. When the tranquilizer wears off, the dinosaur wakes up and manages to escape. At that moment, numerous soldiers chase him through the city and use flamethrowers to surround him. With the help of his friends, Evan guides the animal to the anomaly and gets it through the portal so that it can fulfill its destiny. Soon afterwards, however, the creature returns and, in order to prevent another attack, Evan must eliminate it. Suddenly, all the anomalies begin to disappear and the pair run back to the portal in the hope of getting through it before it closes. So what did you think of this series? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more series recaps. See you next time.